Well, welcome everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I just realized that I did not introduce myself yesterday to everyone. So for those of you that I have not met, my name is Patrick Grace. I know there's so many familiar names and faces with us, but I should have certainly introduced myself yesterday as Patrick Grace, as I mentioned, the director of the Catholic Community Foundation. And again, it's great to have all of you here with us again today for our second of three training or coaching sessions for the We Give Catholic initiative. And I'm going to turn it over to Father Matt Byrne, the pastor of St. John Bosco, in a minute to say an opening prayer. But before I do that, just a quick advertisement. The Catholic Community Foundation, I think most of you know, has been around for a little more than, or it'll be 20 years. And the work that we do at the foundation helps many areas and many ministries within the diocese. But one of the things that we do is help parishes and schools. And beyond even We Give Catholic, there are other things that we do to help support, whether it be offertory or other general revenue that parishes and parish schools realize. And so within that context, there's actually, we have a webinar this upcoming Friday, believe it or not, following this great week of We Give Catholic trainings. There's a webinar under Secure, which is designed to help parishes with their offertory. And I mentioned yesterday the challenges with the current pandemic. The foundation has developed a program called Secure, which provides resources and support to help parishes address other revenue needs that they might have. And so in addition to We Give Catholic, there are other opportunities. The other exciting thing that is happening actually the first 2 weeks of, or the last week of September, next week and first week of October, is something offered through the International Catholic Stewardship Conference or Council, which is an annual seminar, annual conference. And if you're interested in learning other best practices related to major gifts, planned giving, or even your offertory or stewardship, I would encourage you to get in touch with us. That's just another opportunity for you at your parish or school, speaking specifically to you, to address those needs that you might have. So if you'd like to attend the conference, let us know. We can hook you up on that front as well. And now I'm going to turn it over to Father Matt Byrne to start with prayer, although I do have one fun trivia before we get started. And the trivia, Bob and Linda don't even know this, but for the person that gets this trivia question right, they will get this special hat. Linda doesn't even know I stole it from her. But the question is, what organization did Father Matt Byrne intern at while he was a seminarian studying to become a priest in 2012? So the question is, and Angie Pavlik's on this call, you cannot answer this question, but what organization within the diocese did Father Matt Byrne intern at while he was a seminarian back in 2012? And so the person that gets that right is going to get it. You guessed it, one of these hats, Father Matt. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, I think we have a winner, by the way, but I'm going to turn it over to Father Matt Byrne. Maybe he'll give us the answer. Father Matt? You're on mute, by the way, Father Matt.
Thanks, Patrick. All that I got was a mug. How do I get my hands on one of those hats?
There you go.
Don't forget that mug.
The floor is yours.
All right. Let's pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord God, you have called us, your church, following this pandemic, to a new and more abundant life. May we cherish this gift you've given us and never take it for granted. Grant us, your parish and catechetical leaders, the gift of courage and make us ready to share our story and to invite others into it. May everything we do on Giving Tuesday and beyond begin with your help and by your grace reach its completion. We ask all of this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I'm going back on mute now. I want that hat.
All right. Thanks, Father. We appreciate you you saying this morning's prayer or this afternoon's prayer, and let's see, the winner it was Francine. Where's Francine's? I'm a little technically challenged here. I can't find this answer, but I know we have a winner, and I know it's Francine. Yeah, Francine, we'll find out where your organization is, and we'll send you the hat. So, of course, we put on our hats because we have them already, so we didn't need that hat that Patrick stole. All right. Okay, so Father, God bless you. Thank you. And I remember those days like they were yesterday. I'm glad you survived the campaign, Father. You look all the better for it, right? I'm sure. I'm sure that's what you're thinking. Anyway, so we'll get started again today. Linda and I were joking and wondering how many people would join us again today and whether or not that might be a bellwether of how we did yesterday, right? So it's good to see there's quite a few people on the line here again today. I will be introducing our first guest in one moment. I just thought it would be good and fun to take a stroll down memory lane from 24 hours ago from some of the comments that were shared yesterday. And again, we'll thank everyone for all of their active participation yesterday and just for taking the time to be with us. I hope you know how grateful we are for that. Here were some of the words that were posted yesterday: hopeful, energy, generosity, grateful, teamwork. There was a comment about nice socks. So I did show off my socks yesterday, and someone said, nice ankles, Bob. And I don't think that was my lovely wife. So we'll have to see about that. My favorite comment from yesterday was after we announced a winner of these famous socks. And yes, we will be giving away some of these hats today. Someone said, happy for Mary, but really want those socks. So doesn't that get to the spirit of competition and friendly competition at that we just love? So that's also a commercial to say, please keep those comments coming, keep the energy coming, use the chat. We will be checking it frequently, and we'll do our best to answer all the questions that come up and to share some of these perspectives. And it also will help us inform tomorrow's training as well. Okay, so with all that being said, it is now it's my great privilege to introduce a very good friend of ours. Corey Howlett is the president of the Catholic Community Foundation of New Orleans. So yesterday we had someone from Ithaca. Today is New Orleans. Who knows where we will be spanning the world tomorrow. But Corey, the thing I would say to Corey and about Corey is under the category of imitation is the greatest form of flattery. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to Corey and all the great work that he's done in New Orleans, and also parallel work with I Give Catholic, which you'll hear more about in a few moments. I Give Catholic is the predecessor to We Give Catholic, and they got a pretty good head start on us. And in a meeting that Patrick and I were in a few years back, when we heard a little bit about this, we gave Corey a call and started talking about this, and we basically plagiarized as much as Corey would allow us. And to this day, we remain eternally grateful for that. And we're very much linked, by the way, as we've moved forward in kind of a parallel way. And I think Corey will mention this, but if you look at the results of I Give Catholic, which is the same day as We Give Catholic, the results of We Give Catholic are embedded within that. So we love to say that it is truly a day from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon of Catholic giving. It's a great celebration. So again, Corey has been so kind to us over the years, offered so much counsel and wisdom, is the tip of the spear with a lot of really great things at the parish or at the diocesan level. And I Give Catholic is certainly no exception. So with all that being said, Corey, thank you for joining us today. And we invited you, and we're so gracious, or so glad that you accepted to offer some thoughts to get today kickstarted.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Bob, that is too kind. Thank you very much for that introduction. And he's built me up way more than even my 5 kids built me up. So I just say thank you, Bob, for that. And I'm so glad to be able to be on the call with everybody and honored to just be in this conversation. I do, before I want to go any further, just give a debt of gratitude in reciprocation to both Patrick Grace and to Bob, who and Linda, who's also kind of got us on here today. But to Patrick and Bob, who really journeyed with us together in this vision of doing something together. And I'll start with a little bit of connection here as we started this. You know, as we know inside of the Catholic Church, some things move a little glacial. I heard providential yet glacial, and that's a complimentary way to see that things sometimes move slow. And so we've seen for years before us these giving days kind of take off in the secular or nonprofit sector, and said, hey, how do we kind of bring this to the church? But one thing quite from the beginning that Bob and Patrick saw and were part of literally from the very semination of all this, is the fact that it brings communities together. And so I'm looking here at a Zoom page, as you are, and I just love the connection that everybody's here, being able to be committed to something as a community. And the neat part is, and as Bob had mentioned, you know, when we started this, we started having these conversations that really were Holy Spirit inspired of, you know, two really main factors that I want y'all to talk through and think through. Because not only is this day a giving day, but it's so much more than just raising money. But it's about two connections. It's about honoring and having technology honor two great teachings inside of our church, and it's subsidiarity and our universality, right? We are Catholic. We are universal in our nature. And the reality is sometimes canon law brings us into challenges where we sometimes don't feel as universal. Yes, it's nice. You always hear, when I'm in Florida, I get to go to the same mass that I'm at in Cleveland. And when I'm overseas, I get to go to the same mass. And that's beautiful, absolutely. But there's also more to this that we really felt that we could do as a universal church. And I think if we're gonna live that Catholic word out, that we could use technology to be able to do something universal. And so as we started kind of thinking through the day, we started thinking, well, why can't we connect hands technologically, but also be able to honor one great teaching of the church, which is subsidiarity. So I'm looking at here, many of you probably are the ministry heads inside of ministries on the ground, parishes, schools, you know, all whatever, any type of ministry in your diocese. And the reality is the technology platform that we provides you is the power in your own hands, right? It's the giving day is the great equalizer. There's nothing better than you putting energy in something and then getting the fruits of it out, but also you having the control and authority to be able to do that. And in the spirit of that, we give coming to you to say, hey, this is gift. We want to give you a gift so that you can go do this. And so those two things are really important in this day. And I want y'all to be able to recognize that, if I can, and inspire you in that, you know, when we call people to generosity, that we could do this, and you are doing this, just like Bob said, from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon. One of the craziest things about this is that a gift could be made down in New Orleans, a gift could be made in Cleveland, a gift can be made in Philadelphia now, right? And all of these great things that are then combined and to show our collective impact. And generosity, that's one of the greatest gifts about generosity. It's one of the qualities that draws us and makes us most like Christ, right? When we are generous. And so the generosity here that we're talking about just brings us together, but yet honors where you are inside of all of this. And what a fascinating deal to be a part of. And we give, not only, as Bob and Patrick had said, we give not only came in to be able to help lead the efforts, but y'all nationally have led the efforts of the most dollars raised starting last year. So y'all have eclipsed, like New Orleans, we're a small fry. Y'all are the big fry, right? I mean, this is, you know, and that's the beautiful, y'all, that is the beautiful part of the church, that it's not just a competition, but I saw some smiles out there when I said y'all the big fry, right? But the reality is y'all have really set the standard across the country for dioceses to look at. And that we hold hands, we pulled your money into this greater collective impact. And this y'all becomes evangelization together. And that's the most beautiful part of all this, is that we get to tell and invite people to the mission of the church. When you're generous, right, you reflect God's grace, you reflect God's glory, but the most is that we are able to, as community, to be able to really build up and enter into the work that Jesus Christ asks us to do, which is all this ministry, all this great ministry that you're doing. So I just encourage you, not only are you part of something national, but you're part of something in your parish as a community, but universal across the church. And for us, we get to go see it hand in hand. And God's grace for us to hold hands, from Patrick and Bob journeying over the years to do this, but God's grace sometimes just makes us laugh. And I'll share a little story before I wrap up of just my own deal with this. When we created this, and we're kind of this idea, wanted to be able to think through schools, we had a big distrust between our dioceses and our ministries and parishes and schools. And this has slowly started just building that up for us to say, we want what's best for you. We don't want just a tax or a Draticum. We want what's best for you. And it showed that by being able to say, look, here's a tool, and how do we think through this? So we started working with our schools and being able to say, hey, if you don't have an annual appeal and you can't afford a development director, an advancement director, especially as a grammar school. So these parishes with their parish schools started taking to this really well and using this as their built-in way for the annual appeal to happen, right? Staff would come and go, but this is going to be built in for the annual appeal. Well, lo and behold, God's grace in all of this is that my grammar school where I went to, St. Benilde, this is a little tiny blue-collar school out in the suburbs of New Orleans, is leading the way inside of our diocese as being able to invite people in, going back, using social media to connect with all alumni, making gifts, getting them on their donor rolls, getting them on their communication and email list, staying in touch with them, inviting them back to Mass, making them proud of their Catholic heritage. And it's that kind of stuff where the grace was for me. I'm sitting here, I didn't even have my grammar school in mind, but to be able to see a place that had a direct impact on me, that we were able to give back. And so I just think, I hope this takes a little time to encourage you to be able to know this great power of subsidiarity leads us to holding hands via technology in our universal church. Y'all are part of something big. Y'all are leading the way for us. I can't thank y'all enough for all of the work that you do and the inspiration. Knock it out the park. I hope you double us this year, honestly, because that means people have been generous. And so that, thank you for having me. Thank you for being able to hold hands. Bob and Patrick, again, my gratitude's back to you. And may we take the gratitude in our hearts from God's love for us, and let's go make generous people of the faithful. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you, Corey. That's beautiful. And in terms of you saying that you'd like us to feel encouraged and inspired, I am ready to run through a brick wall. So that'll be my next. I guess that'll be the next thing I do after lunch. I think there were two reasons, Corey, that you saw people smiling. Okay. So one of them, as Jennifer Webb just pointed out in the chat, is we like when people call us y'all. So that's good, right? So
I didn't see that in the chat, but I'll take it. Okay.
Yeah. So you're tugging on our heartstrings by calling us y'all. The other reason is because in Cleveland, sports and heartache go hand in hand. So whenever anyone calls us the large fry, we're feeling good about ourselves. So well done. I don't see any questions, Corey, but I do wonder if in your parting, if you would mind sharing with us what that scripture quote says behind you.
Oh, sure. So as you know, I work for a foundation, and when I was about to be appointed to the position, I just asked the Lord to make clear what it was he was asking of me. And John 15:16 kept coming back, and so I'll kind of move out the way, and it's humbling. But it's about the work of the foundation. It says, it was not you who chose me, but I who chose you. And I appointed you to go and bear fruit that will remain. And so the great gift of that is that it's not about me, it's about the fruit that will remain. And so I hope that's my daily reminder of my service back to the church and the world. So
love it. Thank you. John 15:16. That might be our theme for the day. God bless you, Corey. Thank you. You're a good friend.
Thank y'all.
You're a good friend, and we sure do appreciate it. So thank you.
Much love, y'all.
All right. Thanks. All right. So I will be using the word y'all for the rest of the session today. And in that spirit, let's see, how can I introduce y'all, the next three people we have that will present. And this will be similar to the idea yesterday, in that we really feel, and when I say we, I mean Linda, myself, and Corey was kind enough in mentioning Patrick. We should have yesterday mentioned Jennifer Calabretta, who also is part of the engine here and helping us move things forward. But we like to let the folks that are actually doing this work share these best practices with you. And it's in that spirit that we'll have three folks, and we will start off with Jennifer Webb, but I'll just introduce first. I'll say, so Jennifer Webb, who is the Director of Ministry and Communication at St. Francis Xavier in Medina. After Jennifer, we will have Melissa Rogers, who is the Director of Ministry and Communication at St. Joseph Parish in Cuyahoga Falls. And then last, but certainly not least, we'll have Brianna David from St. Mark's School in West Park. And hopefully what you'll see there is a reflection of some good geography in terms of some diversity, and also some of these are different sizes, right? So hopefully you can see yourself in one of these examples. And we'll let them talk about a few things that we think will be especially helpful in terms of practical things that will help you maximize your day this year. So we'll go back to the future here, and we'll start with Jennifer Webb, who is a great friend of ours, St. Francis Xavier Medina. Last year, St. Francis Xavier raised a little bit more than $43,000 from 388 donors. Wow, you go, Jennifer. So, so what I'll do is I'll pass the baton off to Jennifer and let her share with you the thoughts about telling a story, which is a beautiful place to start. So the floor is yours, Jennifer, and thanks for helping us. Jennifer, if you're there, we might have you muted. We're going to take a look and see. Sorry, folks, if you don't mind hanging with us here for 1 minute. What would 2020 be without at least one technical difficulty, right? All right, Jennifer, we cannot hear you if you are talking. We'll work on that, and here's what we'll do. We'll call an audible. And what we'll do is we'll move to Melissa. So Melissa, hopefully you were all warmed up and ready to go. And we'll
I hope so.
All right, so we'll ask Melissa if you would, talking about matching gifts, which, by the way, Melissa, this topic came up yesterday. There was a question in the chat about this, so I think this will be well received.
Okay.
So the floor is yours, and thank you, Melissa, for helping us.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for inviting me to speak. Again, my name is Melissa Rogers, and I work at St. Joseph Parish in Cuyahoga Falls. I think what's important, because Bob had just mentioned that, he had called in different groups of different sizes to share their story. And I think what's important to know about St. Joe's is that we are a relatively smaller parish. We do have a school, but we have a parish of about 1,100 households with about 500 who are very active. So, and I haven't done this before, so I guess as I need the slide churn, should I just say, hey, next slide? Would that be fine? Okay. Anyway, what I wanted to make sure is that people understood as well. I'm going to be speaking to people who maybe haven't done matching donors before. So that's where I'm starting, and that's what level this is at. And then I can answer questions about, more advanced, but I wanted to make sure that the people who maybe feel that it's a little complicated or a little scary to move forward with trying to ask people for more money once again, that it really, don't look at it that way. It actually can be a fairly easy process, even if you're starting now. So what's important, as the slide shows right now, is because we actually had added just 2 matching donors last year, we were able to raise 225% more funds with We Give Catholic, just by adding those 2 people to help us. So we basically went, but understand the numbers, we went from about $6,500 the previous year to about $20,000 last year.
Okay, yep, I can hear it. Yep, that's what it is. Yep, sure can. All right, well, I'll be ready for the next time. All right. Okay, thanks.
Okay. I heard Jennifer cut in there, so it looks like they got Jennifer back up and running. Can everyone still hear me?
Yep, the floor is still yours,
Okay.
Melissa, and we'll just stick with this audible. We'll go to Jennifer next.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you very much. So and I apologize, I'm losing my place a little bit, but so as I said, what we were able to basically increase just by adding 2 matching donors. And what that also helped us with was because we could identify matching donors, it helped us increase the awareness of the program overall, because when we talk to say, oh, we have this alumni who is helping us, who's going to be doing matching donations, it caught even more attention than just advertising We Give Catholic. And my third point there is it also forced us to devote a little more time to promoting it, because we had people now who we had told, hey, these are the steps, action steps we're taking, this is what we're doing. And so it made us stay even more engaged with promoting the program. And I think that that helped us overall. For the next slide, for who to ask, the easiest people to ask are your current donors, even if you've asked them for money already. What I've found out is those people always want to know what's going on. They may not always give for every activity you have, but they definitely are the ones who want to be in the loop. And I'll talk a little bit more to that in a minute. The second, I noticed in the chat, people were saying, you know, ask your vendors, and that's correct. If you have an IT company that you work with, if you have we have a heating and cooling companies out here all the time to fix our boiler, those are good people to ask if they would be interested in being a matching donor, because they have a stake in you doing well also, because they want to continue a good business relationship. And finally, for us, because we have a school, we are able to rely on alumni from time to time to also be donors. So we approached some of our, again, alumni who have continually give a little bit or are in touch with us. We went to ask them as well. So if you want to go to the how. This is probably, that's why I said I don't want people to feel like it's complicated or hard, because it's always nerve-wracking trying to ask people for money. And it still is for me too, and I've done it for a few years. But the best way I've always found to approach your consistent vendors, your consistent donors, your vendors, and your alumni is just let them know that you have this opportunity that's presented itself. So I always go in with not asking for money, just letting them know, hey, no pressure. I just want you to be aware that this project is going on. And what Jennifer Webb will be talking more about is when you tell them, you know, here's the little story of what we're trying to raise money for, that's going to be critical when talking to people. But let them know that there's this opportunity. And I found a very, very positive response from any donor I talk to, that they are grateful that we let them know, and maybe let them be the first people to know about the opportunity before we get others involved. I've also found that making phone calls is the best way to approach it, or if maybe you're at the mass with that person, but a phone call is usually better because you don't want to catch somebody off guard. So we've also done some emails, but you have to make sure that if you're, say you're not even sure who you want to ask and you want to get out 20 emails to request people to be matching donors, you really need to make sure that within a week you follow up with them. A lot of people don't have time to read their emails, but they also want to know that it's important. And I myself in the past have made the mistake of, you know, sending out an email and you get busy and 4 weeks go by and then you're back at square one because no one remembers you sent the email. And you're basically starting from scratch again. So it's really important that you follow up quickly with people. And going back to the phone call, if you have a pastor who's willing to help you make phone calls, that really helps get things done more quickly. Because as anybody would tell you, really it's that relationship that a lot of donors like to have with you. So having a pastor call makes that first call a little bit easier, and then you can develop that relationship going forward to, you know, then for next year, call them again. Then the next slide. And as I said, Jennifer Webb probably talked a lot better to this slide. I added it because of the order I was in the presentation. What's best when you're talking to your potential matching donor is make sure you have a specific project and a specific monetary goal, so you know what to ask them for. And so whether you are going forward with matching donors, and we had a matching donor that we were able to get $10,000 to match, but we also had another one who had $1,000. So the levels can vary. Make sure you treat everybody as just as important as the other one when you're going forward with that. But when you have your monetary goal, that helps to give them an idea of what you would like to them to match. That does help them out a lot. And thank you. The next slide is the last thing I wanted to address is when do you, what's the good timing for getting matching donors? And I threw in there now, obviously start looking for your matching donors as soon as you can, make a couple phone calls, because then you also have time to promote. If they don't want to be anonymous, you have time to promote that these people are your matching donors, and that does help increase the visibility of your program. I wrote down later because last year we actually got one of our matching donors like 2 weeks before the program, before we had it, We Give Catholic. So it's never too late to get somebody to be a matching donor either. So don't give up if you find that it's taking a little more time than you had expected. And ideally, if you know you're going to be doing We Give Catholic or maybe any other program that you could potentially use matching donors, you should be asking, just getting it from your current donors, or would they be willing to be a matching donor? So then you kind of have a, in your pocket, you have a list of people to call that you can always follow up with. So that's my little advice in a nutshell.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
That is, that's wonderful. And the practical part of it is especially helpful. I took a few notes here too. In summary, this is what I heard. I wanted to see if you could confirm this. So person to person, asking folks person to person is best. Phone calls are better than emails. And if your pastor is willing to help you and perhaps make some phone calls, or if you can leverage that, that's great as well.
Yes.
Doing this in advance of the event obviously is the way to do it, and it's never too late, which we appreciate. Right. And the audience, it sounds like, why not start with past donors, and anyone who participated last year would have a list of their past donors to start curating a list and beginning to invite folks to consider this.
Absolutely. I think you summarized a lot of those points perfectly.
Great.
Right. And it's good to clarify, right? Look at your past donors for We Give Catholic, because then they understand the program. So you don't have as much to explain.
Yeah, and last but not least, the technology, just so everybody knows, the technology is very friendly toward matching gifts. So once it gets entered, GiveGab kind of takes over from there, and as donors make gifts, you can then see that it's being matched. So the technology is especially helpful.
It is. It worked really well for us last year. Again, it was our first time last year doing the matching for this program. So it was great. It worked wonderfully. And something I forgot to mention to people that is important, our matching donors, even though normally we do match, we'll match up to $10,000. The donors we had gotten on board just let us have all the money they were going to match. So a lot of times you're going to find that if you get the buy-in for the program, that even if you don't have as many people that get online, say you only had people who donated $5,000 for that potential $10,000 match, our person who was our matching donor still donated the remainder to our program.
Yeah, nice. Okay, that is great. Thanks, Melissa. There were a few questions that came in that I can share, and we might be able to make our way through before we pass it over to Jennifer. I think we got Jennifer back in the fold here, so that's great. So there's a question about, do you only collect the money from matching donors after the day is done? So that's a great question. I could say that that's something that could be done either way. It could be done in advance or after the day is done. The reason it would be done after the day is because you would want to ensure that the match was met. So sometimes the match isn't met. There are donors that will say if the match isn't met, you can keep whatever is left. So in that scenario, you could certainly receive those funds in advance. There's another question about, do matching donors give the money prior to the day of giving? So I think that's a similar question. And also, what if you do not get the entire amount that you set up for matching donors? So that could go one of two directions. You know, the donor could just match up to what they had stipulated, or it is also possible that they would say, I will just give the entire amount that we had originally discussed, and it's okay that the match wasn't met. So that would be kind of on a donor by donor basis. There's one additional question about donor requests and fundraising events, and is there any competition with We Give Catholic? And I think that's probably maybe a little bit of a bigger question that we should field later, not specifically related to the matching gift. So, but we certainly will address that later. Okay, so thank you. Keep those questions coming. It's great. What I'll do now, and thanks again, Melissa, really appreciate that. And matching gifts are a huge multiplier and amplifier, so it's certainly something that we're always trying to encourage here. I'll pass the baton now, and maybe we'll need Father Matt. I see Father Matt's still there. Maybe he could pray for us while we pass the baton off here, that our technology cooperates this time, to Jennifer Webb. And Jennifer, I don't know if you heard me say this before, but I did call you a great friend of the foundation. And we're privileged to have you help us today and literally share your story, right, about telling the story. So without further ado, hopefully the technology will agree. You can have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. Can everybody hear me now?
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. Sorry about
Thanks,
that.
Father. We'll give Father some credit.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity to share, because I have benefited so much from these training days and from all of the great advice from everybody there at the foundation and other comrades in arms as we've tried to make our way through all of this. So happy to share the little bit that I've learned. At the beginning of the top of that slide, I called it Successful Fundraising for Non-Professionals. Then that's because I am certainly not a marketing, not a fundraising professional. My background is in journalism, and so I don't know anything about, this, but I've learned some things along the way, and especially because of the tips that are available through this process. It's really great because there's so much help provided as you go, from the toolkit, and then certainly all the different technology things. I mean, really, there's some, just ask, basically, if you have a question. But here's our success that we've had over the last 4 years, and we've always participated as a school. We have St. Francis Xavier Parish has about 3,500 families, and we have about 430, I think, in our school right now. So we've participated as a school, and these are the amounts that we've raised each time: the 15,000, almost 16,000, plus the prize money. The first year we bought desks for the desks and chairs, pretty basic, but we we had old furniture in the classrooms that wasn't doing the job, and it was our first time, so we didn't quite know where to start, and it was very practical. The second year, we decided to focus on making this new maker space and taking advantage of this parent STEM group that had formed to try to promote STEM efforts and STEM education in the school. And they really got on board in a big way. And we did really, really well. You can see the amounts there. Again, that was something that was primarily targeted for people who were in the school, families who had children in the school, or families who have had children in the schools, although it wasn't exclusively our donor base. The following year, in 2018, we asked donors to help us replace these water fountains that we had. Many of them were original to the school, which was over 50 years old. We had, they weren't in great shape, and they were only water fountains. We were able to replace them with the bottle filler stations, which has been really useful. And we also combined that with some other Go Green initiatives, but the primary thing was these water fountains. And then last year we raised money for Clever Touch boards, which are large, basically like a picture, a large iPad on a screen, or, on a stand that the teachers can use in the classrooms. We're running into constant problems with our main meeting space being the only one that was set up for technology that was easily accessible for people. So it was almost impossible to schedule a meeting for a ministry in there, but we were able to not only improve the technology for the school, but we could also talk about it from a ministry advantage and for PSR and so forth. So grand total over over these years, we've raised $131,759, which I think is incredible for somebody, like I said, who doesn't have fundraising background. And we definitely see God's hand in all of these projects because every one of them has proved especially useful in COVID-19. The desks and chairs, is sort of foundational, I guess, but the makerspace has really enabled us to do much more with technology in the classrooms and so forth. The water fountains, we can't use water fountains, but we can use the bottles filler thing. So all the students can bring their water bottles and fill them that way. So that's been super helpful. And the Clever Touch boards is allowing us to have simultaneous learning in the classrooms with students at home. So it's really been quite a help. So we discovered two things in the course of this project, of all of this Week of Catholic project. One, we can do this, with help, obviously, and a lot of hand-holding. And two, the very competitive nature of our parishioners. And you'll see the prizes that we've been able to win the last number of years, which definitely speaks to that. So you can go to the next slide then. So when you're finding a project, one of the things, obviously you're going to be brainstorming your needs. Obviously talk to the people, all of the people that you can about what might be helpful. It does two things. Not only helps you think of what's a good idea, but two, it engages them as participants, and they're already early on in helping, and hopeful of working towards success for you. So surveying your teachers, certainly all the pastoral council, stewardship, finance councils, Bible study group, if you're part of that, just everybody, hey, what do you think this year? What would be a good idea? And just sort of help them to think out of the box. And ultimately, you need to form a small committee to narrow down the focus and enlist their help. So in our case, we have the principal, the business manager, our office manager this year, Lori, our development director in the school, Jackie, key parents, and trying to figure out what would be a good short list of things that would be necessary. Next slide. So you'll need to obviously consider your audience, who you have as stakeholders in your parish or your school. The parents and grandparents, don't forget those grandparents, because they're, especially if you are able to do some kind of competition among the students, they're very eager to help their grandchildren to succeed and get that 100% participation for their classroom or whatever your competition might be. Non-school families, in our case, we have probably an equal number of PSR children in our parish as we do day school. So we need to think about projects that appeal to them if we want to engage their support, because there's always that little bit of you hope people are noble and they just want to do things because you're asking, right? But obviously, if they get a little bit of personal investment in this, they'll be more eager to participate in your fundraising. So we always look to see, well, what kinds of projects could we do that would appeal to non-school families as well as our school families? Older parishioners whose children may have attended the school or themselves be alumni, and of course, parishioners with no ties to the school. What kind of needs might they have? So when you're talking about all the different projects that you might have on your short list, then which of these might be things that are reasonably attainable during this campaign? It's nice to say, we'd really like to build a new school or something, but you're probably not going to raise that much money in this campaign. So what could you do? Is there a piece that you could break off and you could say, all right, you know, we can't do a whole new school, but maybe this classroom we can improve, or this playground, or this piece. This is something that would be usable for all of our school. So kind of breaking it down so that you have that payoff at the end, and you can say, see, this is what we've done. So that's what we've tried to do. You can think about it in terms of how would someone in each group benefit, and kind of talked about that a little bit with the PSR families, and how soon after this campaign might donors see the benefit. So, you know, if possible, like 2 years ago when we got the water fountains, you know, the campaign was in the late fall, and we were really pushing hard to get some of those water fountains installed over the Christmas break. So when students came back to school from Christmas, they could say, ah, there's our water fountains that we were raising money for. And it was a great aha moment. And of course, get pastor approval. That should go without saying. But you really, that's key, because you know you need him on board to help you tell your story, which takes us to this part of my presentation, the telling the story. Really think about all of your resources that you have, and maybe you have more even now in this COVID period, now that everybody's had to do more virtually. But your bulletin, obviously, parish principal and teacher newsletters, letters to past donors, where you can really talk about what you have done in the past, and show them some of those results. Your weekly e-newsletter, if you have one in your school or in your parish. A letter from the DRE to PSR families. That one is, again, trying to, even though we were registered as a St. Francis Xavier school, we wanted them to feel part of this project. And it was not just for the families of the school, of the day school. Videos, you know, probably you've all become much more expert in creating videos in the last 6 months than ever before. Parish prayer chain, I don't know if you have one, but ours has about 700 families on it. And it's a great way to kind of engage people in their prayer support, and then hopefully also their financial support in the project. And then presentations to parish groups like our seniors club. I know our seniors club, you know, some of them aren't on Facebook. They're not going to get the you know, e-newsletter or whatever. So really having a chance to meet with them face to face and tell them, hey, this is what this is all about. This is what we'd like to buy. Show them pictures of what it is that you're going to have. In our case, the Clever Touch, we already had one that we could show them how it works, and really engage them in the need for it. Next slide. So early and often, using the timeline and resources in the toolkit is a huge benefit, because Linda and company, you guys all have it all figured out, you know, and it's all really well engineered to help you know where you should be in every step. So really using that toolkit, I again think that's important. In that toolkit, you'll also find all the logos and so forth, and helpful advice and examples for the messaging. Which is really helpful to be consistent. You've got that logo, people learn to recognize that logo for We Give Catholic, and they'll look for it, especially if they've done this, if you've done this before in other years. I already had somebody today say, oh, what's our project this year? You know, they're really start to look forward to it and plan on it as part of their fundraising in the year. And telling the story also instills trust by reminding past donors where their money went and showing how they make a difference. So if you want to show the next slide, this is a letter that we sent to our donors last year. We sent it 1 week before Giving Day, probably a little late, honestly. I probably next time would try to send that a little earlier, but we sent it out as a flock note to everybody, and just kind of said, this is why you're getting this email. So they didn't, you know, trash it right away. And then talked about a little bit about We Give Catholic. And you can keep kind of going through these slides. We just went through each year when we showed them pictures of what it was that we spent the money on, and said, you know, the first year we purchased desks. That was the photo that was above. Little bit about why those were necessary. The next year we did the makerspace, showed them a little of that, talked about how much money was raised. The following year, the water fountains with the water bottle fillers. Obviously showing pictures of your cute kids in your parish are always an asset. and then giving them the ask and telling them what it is that we're hoping to do this time. This particular email included a video that we had done and so forth. So we just kind of wanted to lay it all out there. Remember what you did before. Remember how we've asked you for money, and this is how we've used it as good stewards. One of the things that I would kind of have to be cautious about is when you describe what your problem is, you want to be careful not to be too negative. You know, I mean, that's kind of a little dance that we had to negotiate. When we were talking about the water fountains, why the water fountains have to be replaced. You don't want somebody saying, because they're gross and they're really, they, you know, and then there were people like, would be wondering, why are we sending kids to the school after all? So just a word of caution to be a little strategic in how you describe the problem. But like every story, right, you have characters, there's a conflict, there's a resolution, and there's a call to action, right? So the conflict is your problem. What is it that you're trying to fix? So just try to not turn people off in the process. Anything you can do to be really specific, really tangible, list identifiable costs, unit costs, installation costs, replacement parts. Each unit of our water fountains costs this much, you know, and people would say, well, yeah, but you've got to replace that filter. Well, this is how much the filter is. This is what we think we can do and how much it'll cost. Just really engage them in that process, and that brings them in as partners, which is helpful. So this was another email that I sent. I'm sure it's probably pretty small on your screen. I tried to save slides here, but this is an email that we sent showing, you know, there's a little picture over on the left of the kids in the gym that were trying to fill their water bottles at an ordinary fountain, and that just doesn't work very well. Show them exactly what it is that we want to replace it with. Next slide. And then speak to each audience. You want to, obviously the same message isn't going to fit for every person. So you have to think about how everybody communicates well. You know, are the seniors going to be able to read this on, you know, if you're sending a text, or if you're sending you know, putting it out on social media, or are they going to do better with a snail mail letter or something in their parish bulletin or something? You want to adjust your message, use your key people. I mean, obviously your pastor and your principal, if you, to be very visible, and some of your best cheerleaders, but don't, you know, forget about popular teachers in the school that might have a really, you know, a good connection with the parents, especially, and especially if it's maybe a teacher that's been around for a few years, so that even those parents of students who are alumni would recognize and feel connected there. And then the main thing, and then just keeping it going, you know, I mean, the main thing is tell that story and tell it and tell it and tell it. You know, don't be afraid to over communicate. You can go to the next slide for this. You know, just really hourly updates, you know, with pictures on Facebook. Again, there's things that that they're showing in the toolkit, that it was, you know, some suggested things for your hourly updates. Send a few reminders by email at the beginning of the day at key times. Make sure it's all, how are we doing? I want to share how we are doing. It's all about engagement and keeping them connected in all of that. And I will say friendly competition is good. We had, I know the next presenter is is from St. Mark's. One of our peer-to-peer fundraisers last year, who's also on my stewardship committee, her brother is the pastor at St. Mark's. And so we had kind of a nice little back and forth with them last year, trying to, you know, see who could do better, and it was kind of funny. We also had a former principal from our school that went to Seton Catholic to be on staff there, so we had, you know, we were always, the staff would come in and be like, well, how are we doing? We gotta, you know, they like that competition. So, and of course, again, you know, revisit your audiences at the end and let everybody know, how did you do? Thank them personally if at all possible, even if it's just a quick text or email. Thanks for your donation. It really meant a lot that night, that week, beyond. And I will say from personal experience, the 3 things here at the top: drink your water, ask for help, get some sleep. I pour every ounce of myself into this campaign every year, and I have to remind myself I should make myself a big poster of these things, because it's really exciting, and sometimes you can get caught up in all of that. So yeah, that's what I've got. So good luck to you, and I'm happy to help anybody if they have questions after this, if they want to get in touch with me at the parish. I'm happy to help.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. You know, that last slide might be the best advice we get all year, right? Drink water, ask for help, but get some sleep. That is beautiful. My favorite part of that was when you referred to us as Linda and Company. I think our office might have a new name here, right? There might be No Living with Linda now after that. But really, really great stuff, and especially appreciate, you know, the comment about the friendly competition. And we will talk tomorrow about the new and improved and hopefully creative prize structure, and so that should be fun tomorrow. And the last thing I wanted to say real quick before I pass the baton off is there was something you said there, Jennifer, that made me remember that we have the ability at the end of the day to see, I think it's called a scattergram, and it shows the entire country and all the gifts that come in from the country. You can see these little red dots, and they literally are all over the country. And it just made me think about how, you know, the grandparents love to give, and the aunts and the uncles, and this thing really does have tentacles, and it's beautiful to see it at the end of the day. If we could share that at the end of this year, we'll try and do so. It's just a really kind of impactful thing to look at and see when the day is over. So thanks, Jennifer. We appreciate all of your words of wisdom. And what I'll do now is I'll pass the baton off to Brianna David from St. Mark's School. And this is a great story, by the way. I don't think St. Mark's participated the year prior, but last year raised more than $47,000 from 335 donors. So you obviously are drinking your water, asking for help, and getting some sleep, Brianna. So we'd love to hear more.
Thank you. So, yep, I'm Brianna David. I'm the pastoral minister at St. Mark. So I'm going to be talking about peer-to-peer fundraising and year one lessons learned.
This is class 1A after all. Every student here is a promising group. You know, if there's a problem, you know, we got it.
So just a little bit about St. Mark.
Hello? I'm Bob-Ed. We're taking over the conference. Enjoy.
Sorry, Brianna. Like I said, technical difficulties, right? 2020 wouldn't be like that otherwise. We're going to try and take care of it.
Okay, perfect.
And we're going to share the screen again for you, and I think we got the background noise taken care of.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So actually, technically, St. Mark did We Give Catholic in 2017 before my time. They had 3 different fundraising topics. So, and really no advertising. So the outcome was not so great. Last year we were doing, the goal was for the Stream Lab. We're renovating an old convent building into the Stream Lab, and sorry, you can go back real quick. And that was a plan that the parish and school had for a long time. But it was actually our starting point. The plan for our steering committee was to do We Give Catholic and then approach other corporations with, this is how many people backed us in our community. But that's all on pause for right now due to COVID. So you can go to the next slide. So our goal was 50,000, and as you could tell, it was really close. We ended up actually hitting our goal because a donor came forward after the day was over. So we counted that. So we did hit our goal of 50,000. And just some starting points is that the goal should be attainable, but not easily. So I know that's different for this year, trying to figure out what that should look like for COVID times to keep momentum building. So you don't want to just keep talking about We Give Catholic all the time right off the bat. You want to obviously present it here and there, but as the date gets closer, build upon that. And clear communication from whoever your leadership is, for us it's a pastor and principal, is really important. When I was first approached to share about St. Mark, I was like, what am I going to share? You guys give us everything we need. So that toolbox on the GiveGab site that has the checklists and social media guides, those are awesome. Like, it has everything that you need to succeed in those. And I was always having that checklist. So make sure you check out all the toolkits in there. Social media is really important. It wasn't until the training day last year that I came back to the parish and I was like, Father Adam, we really need to get a Facebook page. And the school and church ended up making our own separate pages for that and using the We Give Catholic hashtag and making your own hashtag. Doing a constant contact or whatever email platform you use to set up different times of when to send out emails. It was really important to promote your own individual link in that email. As Jennifer was sharing, the story is so important. So we actually had students share our story in a YouTube video. And another fun thing we did was the Facebook Lives on the day of. So we had the principal sharing, one of the classes hearing on the PA that they're in the lead, just sharing those Facebook Lives so people were hopping in on those as well. So here is the Streamlab student video.
It's on the way, Brianna. Thank you.
No problem.
There we go.
Hi there, and welcome to St. Mark's. My name is Michael, and I'm in the 7th grade.
My name is Jada, and I'm in the 8th grade. My name is Mary, and I'm in the 7th grade.
My name is Alex, and I'm in the 6th grade.
My name is Julia, and I'm in the 7th grade.
I'm Danny, and I'm in 2nd grade. My name is Carter, and I'm in the 6th grade. Did you know that our school is celebrating its 70th birthday this year?
Wow, can you imagine how many students walked the same hallways we are walking today?
I can't believe St. Mark's School is 70 years old.
Did you know that the building behind us used to be a convent? The nuns who worked at St. Mark used to live here.
And we're now making it something special for our school community, a Streamlab.
This is a place where we will learn all subjects: science, technology, religion, engineering, the arts, and mathematics.
Come on in and see for yourself.
As you can see, we have a lot of work to do. But since everyone is working so hard, we're hoping it will be finished by the end of 2019.
That way, we will be able to start using it by the end of Christmas break.
Imagine this, a 3D printer over in that corner.
And a laser cutter etching machine over here.
In our Z-Mark Discovery Center, this whole wall will be a Lego wall, where our principles of engineering are first learned.
We will also be looking at the world through virtual reality goggles and using Spherobots too.
We are going to learn so much in these 4 walls.
Good thing We Give Catholic Day is coming up because you can help make our Streamlab dreams come true. We Give Catholic Day is the day after Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It's the Catholic Giving Tuesday.
This year, We Give Catholic Day is on Tuesday, December 3rd. We're asking for donations for this lab and the future of our school. We can't do it alone.
We need your help.
The question isn't how much you should donate, rather what donations you should be proud to give.
Will you help us spread the message?
Share this video by using the hashtag WeGiveCatholicSt.
Thank you for letting us share our Streamlab with you.
We are thankful for your support and generosity.
So that was definitely a good way of sharing the story. Parents, grandparents would rather hear it from the kids themselves than from us. So if you are doing a school, definitely use your students to share the story. Just gonna wait for the PowerPoint.
Yep.
to go.
That's a great video, and the PowerPoint's coming right back up. Beautiful video.
Yeah, so we had a lot of parents obviously reposting and sharing that video, and then family and friends as well, especially if their kid was in it. So it was a good way to have a lot of reshares.
There we go.
So the next point of talking about is peer-to-peer fundraising. This is a great way to engage first-time donors. It's really fun for the competition for students and teachers. and it's very expansive. So the first thing we did was sent a letter home from the pastor and principal, just explaining that we are renovating this space to build a Streamlab, because a lot of families didn't know about that in general, talking about what We Give Catholic is, and then explaining the competitions for the peer-to-peer. We also had a meeting with the teachers to help them set up their peer-to-peer fundraising. It was really great because we could do it all together. If anyone had problems, we could help them figure it out. We also had them add their personal giving link to their email signatures. So whenever they were communicating with parents, it was right there for them. And then I also gave teachers some responsibility of certain dates where they were supposed to email the parents. So like a week before, a couple days before, the day before, and the day of, so that they could remind the parents and have that link sent right to them. You can go to the next slide. Incentives are really important. It's, you know, the best part of the peer-to-peer fundraising. So make sure the teachers are involved in brainstorming those prizes, the students as well. So each classroom goal was $500, and the teacher got to decide with her class, okay, if you hit that goal, what does that mean for our class? It could be extra recess, pizza party for lunch. We left that up to the individual classes, but the teachers need to be just as excited as the students. Once we decided that the all school goal, if we hit that, the principal ultimately decided that we got a day off. And once that was decided, the teachers were more excited than the students and really brought that momentum and set that tone. So make sure the teachers have a good incentive as well. So involving the parish, for St. Mark specifically, we can never separate our parish and school. To go into our parish, you have to enter the school hallway. So our one family of faith, the pastor spoke at every mass leading up about We Give Catholic, and we did a We Give Catholic parish flyer, so that the first 2 ways were not about donating, but praying for success, praying for our students, and educating in the Streamlab. And then the second way, we asked just to share. So forward an email to family and friends, repost things on Facebook. The third, if they had a family friend who had a child in the classroom, to donate to their classroom peer-to-peer fundraising, or to donate to the main site. Those specific students you saw in the video were definitely competent to come and speak after masses. So they talked about We Give Catholic after mass as well, and invited the parishioners into the Streamlab for an open house. Even though it was still under construction, we wanted to make sure they were a part of it and able to see the project. So year one lessons learned. In hindsight, I would have presented to the teachers early on, so your whole staff, whether it's parish and school, is just on the same page and really understands what We Give Catholic is and sees the big picture. Expand your We Give Catholic team so you can conquer and divide and get more done that way. We did great at peer-to-peer fundraising, but we kind of were lacking in the matching gifts. So kind of try to focus on both, not just one. And then we did a thank you wine and cheese night for the large donors, but I think it's important to recognize the small donors as well. So doing something for everyone as a thank you. So
Thanks, Brianna.
Yep.
That is great. The honestly, that video alone, I don't know if you could see everybody smiling and laughing. The video alone was worth the price of admission. So we appreciate you sharing that. I really like the idea of the incentives and the day off at the school. You could see how that would get the teachers excited. There was one thing in there that you referenced a couple of different times that I hope people caught, because we're big proponents of this, which is pushing folks to your direct link. So you want to get people to go right to your direct page on GiveGab. So we love when people go to just the general We Give Catholic page. It's great. It's a great advertisement. I think it shows the broad-based impact of the day. But if you want someone to give, the truth is we would strongly recommend that you're using a link that takes them directly to your page. So that alone, I think, was a little bit of pixie dust that I hope everybody caught and understood. So thank you. That is great. I don't see any questions in the chat, so I think what I'm going to do, if Linda confirms. Sarah might have one question for me, and then I'll pass it off to Linda. Okay, any suggestions for applying your ideas presented to parishes specifically? Let me think about that for a moment.
I can address that a little bit because I was thinking about that. I mean, what St. Mark's did with their peer-to-peer fundraising was just fantastic as far as, you know, already having a structure in place of classroom teachers. But let's think about how you can do this in a parish. So you have parish council members who could act as your peer-to-peer fundraisers, and you could rally them around We Give Catholic, which would be really wonderful. There are probably groups that you could ask to set up a peer-to-peer fundraising. Maybe the women's group would set up one, the men's group would set up something, a Bible study, a PSR. So there's a lot of opportunity there for parish and nonprofits too. I know we didn't talk about board members. I was thinking about that even when Jennifer was talking, and she mentioned about how important it was to have your pastors and your teachers. But board members for nonprofits can also play those roles that really make the topic important to them. And then also, you know, your project and spread the word and asking them to send some letters, asking them to be peer-to-peer fundraisers. I know that in the past, Madeline Wallace from St. Joseph's Home has spoken about how We Give Catholic really made turned her board into some fundraisers, that it really made them come together in a different way that they had not been like before. So I hope that you're taking some of the things that we're hearing today and reimagining it for your situation. Every school is a certain size. Every parish has certain needs. Many charities and nonprofits are structured differently, but I think in all of these presentations, there's a few nuggets there that are helpful. Bob, do you have anything to add to that?
No. How's that?
That
Okay.
was beautiful. Well, Linda and company, I think we're in good shape now.
No, I think that's great.
Yeah. Is there, so are we ready, Sarah, to move on? Do we have any other questions? Okay. So I'm going to introduce a couple people to you that I think are very important to your efforts. They are certainly key to our efforts here at the diocese. We're blessed here to have a great diocesan communications team. We meet with them regularly, and they really help us a lot as far as promoting We Give Catholic. They make sure that the media is lined up and that the bishop is taken to the media that day and really helps us that way. They help us with getting spots on radio and with all of our marketing efforts. So they're definitely part of the We Give Catholic team, and we're pleased to have them. On their own, they are busy working. I will introduce Carol Kovach, who is the editor for the Northeast Ohio Catholic Magazine, and Brooke Uline, who is a marketing manager down, communications manager. I'm sorry, I have that all wrong. Communications manager, and just is so helpful in getting out press releases. Last year, she did a lot of We Give Catholic live stream for us on Facebook. And I'm going to let them talk to you about how you can get your stories published through our diocesan communications team. So we'll take it from there. Carol? Carol on the line? Ooh, not Jim. Carol?
Let me tell a dad joke or something.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go ahead and start?
Oh, okay, Brooke.
Okay.
Okay, I think I'm good now, but if you want to go ahead, Brooke, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brooke Uline here in the communications department. Linda did a great job of introducing Carol and I in our department and how we really try to help each of you individually, and then We Give Catholic as a whole. Our role from a big picture perspective is to try to use all the mediums that we have in our local toolkit, our local toolbox. So the different social media platforms, whether that's, encouraging and talking, in the past, Archbishop Perez, this year Bishop Malesic, or our diocesan social media handles, or we just started within the past few months a Northeast Ohio Catholic Magazine social media, Facebook and Instagram. So the point is that through all those different mediums, they kind of target different audiences and different followers. And so we like to highlight We Give Catholic as a whole. And it starts pretty big picture with save the dates, and then it funnels down into the stories, just as Melissa and Jennifer and Brianna shared. So if you do a video and we see that video, or Linda and the foundation team see something creative like that, we want to tag onto that and keep that snowball effect going. Our e-newsletter comes out every week, Thursday evenings, Friday mornings. If you haven't subscribed, go to dioceseofcleveland.org, scroll all the way down, or a box will pop up after you've been on there for 30 seconds, and subscribe to it so you can start to understand the type of e-news digital articles we put out there on our website. But that's 13,000 subscribers. I mean, people get that every week in their inbox, and that ranges, right, from my husband, who's 40 years old, to my dad, who's approaching 70. So it really hits a large demographic of people. And then Carol will talk about Northeast Ohio Catholic Magazine and her role as we hear your stories and really try to spread the word. Linda mentioned radio. We oftentimes field a lot of phone calls through our 2 offices in terms of, hey, we heard this really cool story. We want to come out and speak to someone about the project that they're doing. Or, again, on the day of, once we kind of understand and show the broad spectrum of, maybe someone's trying to build a playground, and then someone else is trying to get a parish center, and someone else is just trying to get new seating. It kind of shows the big facet of what everyone's fundraising for. And that's the point of the giving day, or of any giving day, right? That it touches all different walks of life and people. And so that's really kind of our big picture involvement here, is to try to help share your story to the masses. Did I explain that right, Linda? I think.
You did a great job. I hope people will be calling you with all their great stories, because I know they're out
just
there.
Be super catchy and think out of the box, and wear your We Give Catholic hat all day so people ask you about it. I mean, it seems corny, but that's what works, especially now. I've done a couple of webinars about how to market during COVID, and I mean, you guys probably know this. Everything is video, social media, video, social media. So whatever gimmick you have, I think, is perfect for this time of year.
Great. Carol, are you on?
I am. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, good. As Brooke said, we love to share your stories, but we need to hear about them first. So it's really important that you shoot me an email, send me a text message, whatever, pick up the phone. I think Linda had that slide that shared our contact information, and that'll be available. It's also available on the diocesan website. One of the biggest things that I do is I'm the editor for Northeast Ohio Catholic Magazine, which I'm pretty sure you probably all know comes out 6 times a year. It's our official diocesan publication, and it's the largest diocesan magazine in the country with a circulation of nearly 240,000 people. So it has a huge reach, and we would love to tell every single story in there, but because we only publish 6 times a year, we have limited space and limited opportunities. So we have to be a little bit selective on what we can put in there. But we do have the e-newsletter and the diocesan website, which work as additional platforms to help share stories in between magazine publications. So I'm forever looking for stories for the website, and the same for the newsletter. We try to post something, if possible, just about every day on the Diocesan website. And then we will cull stories primarily from the website and use them in the e-newsletter. And we generally have probably like 4 to 6 stories on average each week, depending on what's going on. And during the pandemic, it could be a little challenging to find things because in the beginning, everything was basically shut down. But now people are finding more creative ways to get back to their ministries. And so I need to hear about that stuff. So don't ever be afraid to call or email and let us know about what you think could be a story. Even if it's not a major magazine story, we still might be able to find a home for it on social media, on the Diocesan website, in the e-newsletter, on all of these other platforms that we have. So please, that's the biggest thing, is tell us what you're doing, because we want to hear what's going on in all 185 parishes and schools throughout all 8 counties of the diocese.
Thanks, Carol. Thank
If you have
so
questions
much.
too, I'm happy to, and I'm sure Brooke too, we're happy to answer.
So we're going to kind of go back here. Oh, I've got to put my hat on because we're going to go back to Brooke, and we're going to have a prize drawing. How's that? Brooke, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. I feel like, do I drum roll? Like, can you guys hear that?
Yeah, we
I'm
already
really
had.
excited.
I don't know if we told you, but we already had one winner so far. Frances Constantini.
Oh, awesome.
Was the first one to win a hat today. She knew the trivia contest.
Oh,
so,
cool.
but now we just now we have some.
Too bad it wasn't like the Emmys and we were there to just. Sorry.
Next year, we're the Emmys.
Hashtag goals.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Are you ready? Okay. Awesome.
Yes.
Wow. I cannot wait to see your selfie with this wonderful hat to all these winners that I'm about to announce. So please send them our way. From the St. Malachi Center, Debbie. I'm just going to do first names. From Mary Queen of Peace, Father Doug. From Light of Hearts Villa, Amy. From Catholic Charities Disability, I want to say Services, is Lauren. St. Bernard Church, Dee. St. Joseph Academy, Caroline. St. Rita Parish, Michelle. St. Pascal Bylon, Diane. Regina Health Center, Cheryl. And LifeWorks Ohio, Regina. Congratulations.
Thanks, Brooke.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. I'm just going to put this slide up here again for a moment. People can contact Brooke and Carol. Their information is right there on the slide. Of course, these slides will all be made available to everybody, and you can always reach out to me, and I'm happy to pass on the information, or to Bob, or to my company, Linda and Company. So, deadlines for the stories. Every story has different deadlines, but I think that would be, people who are looking for deadlines should contact Carol and Brooke, because I'll tell you where it would be appropriate to run that story, and I'll have different deadlines. But great, I hope that you all want to share your story. So let's talk about tomorrow. I think we made it. We made it through 2 Giving Days and 2 Giving Day training days. And we're so happy that all of you are here today. We can't thank you enough. We're so grateful to have so many great leaders involved with us in this project. So tomorrow, you can see what we're going to have going. I think I counted there's going to be actually 4 surprises tomorrow. I'm going to give you a little teaser. There's going to be a surprise when we talk about videos. There's going to be some surprises when we talk about our prizes. And there's going to be a $500 early bird registration prize drawing as well as a prize drawing for people who've been on our webinars here for 3 days. Anything to add to that, Bob?
No, other than I think you can present tomorrow.
Yes, all winners must be present.
That's our incentive. Right?
Yeah.
So, no, I think tomorrow will be fun because the prizes, they just kind of animate the whole campus and firsthand just all the friendly competitions with the different organizations. So we did take a little bit of time and we adjusted the prize structure a little bit. And hopefully everybody will embrace it and see what we're trying to do.
Right. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for hanging in there with us. And we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. We're going to talk about videos, and we're talking about prizes, and we're going to talk about online events. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
God bless you.